Good evening, folks. It's WRFU Urbana 104.5 FM. Broadcasting live from our brand new studio at the moment. I want to give you the legal disclaimer as always. WRFU is an open forum for the Urbana-Champaign community. Views expressed are those of the speakers and not intended to represent WRFU, UCIMC, Urbana Socialist Forum, Airshifters, UPTV, UI Channel 7, University of Illinois Foundation. We've got a special guest today. We're going to have a conversation about some politics. Politics and bullshit as we always do. Let's do a quick mic check and see who's here with us.
David Pileski, student body president at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
Fantastic. And now we're going to go through a series of questions and of topics. First off with being, what his role is and go into some of the hot button topics that have transpired throughout the year. But first and foremost, what the hell do you do?
Well, I mean, it's a really honest, good question. I think the best way to describe it is it's a two-part role. One is the Senate part, and we have 54 senators on the Illinois Student Senate. And so
54.
I have to manage them, make sure they're doing stuff that's good, hopefully, ideally, and managing those meetings, which can sometimes turn into a rodeo. And then the second part, which is the one I really care about, is that's reaching out to students, working with orgs and the administration, and making sure that the student perspective is heard. And we're working on all sorts of issues. So, I mean, it's a two-part role. One's bureaucracy and bureaucratic and boring stuff. The other part's actually doing service.
Okay.
So
and you were actually elected to the position.
Yes. I think one thing that's kind of a misconception is I'm actually not publicly elected by the masses as student body president, something that I kind of feel awkward about. Here I am representing all 43,000 students, and yet none of them have really elected me. I was elected to represent fine and applied arts as a senator, and then all the senators get together and then they elect the student body president. So kind of parliamentary. Yeah,
kind of one of the, what's it called, the electoral college sort of system.
Yeah, exactly.
In the background.
We can't give you too much power, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Aristocracy keep perpetuating itself to a certain extent, but it's all to the good. So thank you for coming on the air. We're going to talk a little about the situation that transpired over the year. Let's start off with what has been your surprise for the year? Because, I mean, a lot of people go in with expectations. Like, I know I've been head of organizations, and you go in having a very set plan and detail, whatever, and then all of a sudden life happens. And you get railroaded, you get surprised. What has been your surprise being in that position?
I was a senator before I got involved, and I was actually committee chair, and so I kind of knew how bureaucratic it was. But when I was running, I was really excited and eager to kind of push a progressive agenda and to really get a lot of things done on campus for students. Mm-hmm. And then after the elections, getting in office and actually starting to work with people, realizing that you can talk to people one-on-one, but then all of a sudden they get thrown into the pot, and then all of a sudden these things that are good for everyone become a kind of personal bickering fight. And so it's been kind of a disconnect for me afterwards, and it's been something that's been a continuing battle. But you think that people are there to do the general good, but whoever decides what their general good is at the end of the day kind of shocks you, I think.
Yeah.
So
I've had that same experience on different organizations I've taken part where I have a really good relationship with someone, for example, and because of that, I think that we're going to be able to work fluidly on that sort of setting, professional setting. And then I come to realize that people who I thought were going to be the most abrasive to me end up being the most supportive, and vice versa. And I was like, whoa, because you really do. I mean, it's like when you live with somebody, being on a professional organization like that, you really find out about the intricacies of each person's personality. All right. So what has been the one most pleasant surprise being a part on that role?
I think we've been able to do a lot of great things that are new. We funded a lot of new activities on campus. We're actually taking an active role, and for the first time, we've actually reached out to other organizations. For the first time in a long time, we aren't standing alone as the Illinois Student Senate. We've been working with the Pan-Hellenic Society. We've been working with the Illini Union Board, and these seem like small steps, but at the same time, even we held our first LGBT-friendly event on campus in the entire history of the Student Senate, and to me, that was a huge accomplishment. I mean, for once, we're actually reaching out to the community, which is a great thing and a first step to really accomplishing bigger things on campus. Okay,
and so I'm going to ask you about a couple issues that have transpired over the year. I don't know whether in the community or not. You can defer your comments.
Let's go. That's all right.
So some of these questions, for those of you who are out there who are listening and who are also watching this on TV, some of these questions were emailed to me by other parties. So some of them are regurgitating, some of them are my own, and I'll try to identify the parties when I do. One of the ones that came from the community was about police and policing of the campus town area, in particular the circumstance that transpired back in June 5th, where a Champaign police officer ended up strong-arming a young man who was jaywalking late after the bars, I guess at about 3 o'clock or maybe 2:30 in the morning on June 5th. And the reaction, the sequence of events that transpired after that, Did you see that situation? Are you familiar with it?
I'm familiar with it roughly, and it's been a while. But you know what? The biggest thing I can say is right now, I think we had great news today with Anthony Cobb named the new chief of police for Champaign.
Do you like him?
I really love him. I've met with him personally on a lot and worked with him on Urbana issues, and so I have full confidence in him. Okay. He knows the community. He's willing to reach out, and he has a great just dialogue with the campus itself. So I'm really interested to see what happens with Champaign in particular. I think Urbana's always been at the table, but Urbana's never been the problem. And the university police, to a certain extent, they're easy to work with because we pay for them. And so Champaign has always kind of been this, they're on the fringe, they don't care, and they've been very hostile. And I think with Mayor Gerard and with a new chief of police, we're seeing some steps. I mean, nothing's ever going to be perfect, unfortunately. It doesn't fix itself overnight. But I think more than ever, there's this potential for something to be resolved. Because it's just absolutely, I mean, the Champaign police do say, no matter what they say, they pay extra special attention to us. They love to ticket us more. And they have a history of just unethical actions. I'll just put it at that. So,
and people know my perspective on that. I was really inappropriate, especially the young man was taken out of the police vehicle in an unsecure area, which was really dangerous for him and for the police officer as well. Not to mention the fact that it was in the process of being choked while handcuffed in the back of a cop car. That was definitely not cool. Another big issue that transpired over the year was that, and that was also emailed to me by Chris Evans, regarding the recent anonymous scandal and the emails are going. So why don't you, I mean, are you familiar with that issue?
I will say for the public that I got an email myself from Lisa Troyer after the incident.
After? So, was it an anonymous email? Or did you
it had her name on it. She did profess her innocence, in case anyone was wondering.
Really?
But so
she said she didn't send the emails.
She told me she didn't send them. But I mean, my question is, if she didn't send it, then who sent the emails? I mean, who's responsible for them?
From her email account. You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, read the report. It's only 27 pages. If you're going to read any scandal report from the University of Illinois, read this one.
There's so many to choose from the law school to the
I mean, what I'll say is the Illinois Student Senate itself, actually, we passed a resolution Wednesday that had very strong language about ethics on campus and in general. And I think the one thing that I think is really disheartening is there are people that dedicated their life to this institution. I know a lot of people that they went here undergrad, they went here for graduate, they're now employees of the university, they've been here for years. And there are people that come to our campus and they don't get the whole institution. They don't get this whole culture that's been developed in this history. And so I think that what she did was wrong. Obviously, I think the biggest problem for me is I'm very huge advocate of proper due process, and while I think, yeah, the evidence is very clear, I just want to make sure she's treated fairly, and this goes through all the necessary steps, because if I were in that situation or in another situation where I was being accused of something, I want to make sure that I got the right process. So as much as I think this is a horrible thing for our university, and I think what happened is absolutely unethical and wrong, I just want to make sure that we go through all the proper steps, and I mean, the report says it all, I think. So.
Yeah. Do you think that President Logan should have proceedings about him as well and him stepping down?
I think he has said time and time again. I was actually at the Senate Executive Committee when he got into that altercation. Read those minutes too. Really good. But I don't think that the report really goes into depth on the issue, and I think, he has denied it, but at the same time, did we really investigate Hogan specifically on the issue? And I think if you look at the report, there's some questionable stuff there that just asking him a question, does that really thoroughly vindicate his honesty? I mean, if I asked you, did you do something illegal, are you going to just tell me right up front?
If the justice system worked like that, no one would be in jail, right? Like, no, I didn't do it. Oh, good, we found you with the blood, but I guess it wasn't you.
So, I mean, I think it's called for, and I don't think it's necessarily something that he should be offended by. I think it's something that he should honestly own up to and almost offer to the community.
To quell the naysayers in the backdrop. I think that's a fair point.
He has nothing to hide.
Yeah, I think, but do you think his pay should be up on for that makes a lot of money in his tenure. You know
I will say this. We should not hire another chief of staff. We made an exception for him. We've never had a chief of staff on this campus before, so let's save at least $200,000.
Yeah, I don't get what that role is. I mean, what's the chief, who's the chancellor?
Influence the faculty.
Yeah, clearly, if we don't another paid bureaucrat there, that's nothing better than to do that. So that's another scandal that's ongoing. Let's talk a little bit about the professional programs, for example, the law school.
Sure.
Folks have to understand, we have a scandal just about every year or every other year, almost like clockwork.
I feel like it's semester-wise.
Yeah, at this point, we're speeding the process up, I guess. Everyone just being all boisterous and gangster like that. The law school and the little underpinnings behind the admissions process. What was your take on that?
I mean, I think this is, if there's ever a good scandal on campus, it was this one, because it was one person at least. I mean...
Supposedly.
Yeah.
They say he has all the power for that, but yeah.
I mean, and I think at least out of all of this, at least he resigned. He owned up to it, and he's not denying it, and he was willing to respectfully say, you know what, I did this, and I'm going to leave because I did it wrong. I think this is an issue, though. Why are we paying people for performance? We're incentivizing being unethical and doing the wrong things to get results. How much do we want those results? Do we want it the right way or the wrong way? And with that being said, I think there's a system that we need to look at. How are we paying our employees, and what are these raises based on? And I mean, here's a guy that, I mean, he built his base salary up way high because he was cheating. So,
yeah. For those of you that don't know, who are not familiar with the story, I think he was an associate dean. Was he a dean in the?
You know, I think I don't recall.
I don't know what his position was in the law school administration, but basically he oversaw the numbers for acceptance and performances on LSAT, and basically was doctoring them. So when he would generate the reports, he was making it seem as if the students were from a higher level, performing at a higher level than they actually were, to then make his position seem like he was doing everything in the right direction. And because his pay was tied to the production of results, he's basically, padding his pockets. Pretty illegal, I mean, from my regard, and he should have a lot of money to pay back. So those of you that are not familiar with the scandal, completely inappropriate actions on his part. And, I still question whether or not he's the only person involved, because there were other people who were benefiting from those numbers being represented as they were.
Well, and you know what? At the end of the day, even if he was in charge, the buck stops with him. But there are other people that worked underneath him too. And how can one person do something that big of a scale and get away with it?
Yeah, somebody had to have. There must be email trails, but him stepping down may be quelled. And
maybe he knows how to erase his hard drive better.
Yeah, trace it back to him. Let's talk about what stories are you most happy with the year in terms of projects you've been working on. Is there anything you're really proud of thus far? I know you mentioned the LGBTQ event.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that I was really proud of. I mean, just the fact that we had never done this in our entire history. We've been on campus for decades. I mean, the fact that we never reached out to that community, I thought was a huge thing. Other things that I've been really happy about was just this cross-collaboration on campus. I think too often senators and just the organization itself, they like to trap themselves in the union, and they kind of elevate themselves on this artificial pedestal. But at the same time, honestly, and I'll be the first to say, Student Senate has limited power. Our power is in the power of reaching out to students, mobilizing students, and advocating for students. And so if you're not doing any of those, then what are we here to do? And so the fact that we got out into the community, we worked with organizations, and we were able to build long-lasting relationships, it made my job a lot easier because I meet with the chancellor monthly. I meet with the vice chancellor for student affairs almost weekly. And when I talk to these people, but when I talk to these people, I mean, it brings so much more when I can say, you know what, I talked to these leaders and they're on board, and then the pressure's on them then. So it's not me just kind of going in being a one-man show. So I think it's been a great year for just building relationships, and I think that's difficult because you don't see necessarily the direct results, but it gets things going. I mean, you got to lubricate the system before you're going to be able to get it going. So. And
this is Vice Chancellor Renee Romano? Or?
Yeah, Renee. Renee and I are.
Oh, that lady, man. Hi, hater. But let's talk. So people don't know this out there, but I don't know if you want to announce it, but you're a glutton for punishment.
No, that's fine. I mean, might as well. I mean, we're getting ready. Campaign season around the corner. I've decided to run for student trustee. To be honest, it was a decision I didn't come to lightly, and I think a lot of people that know me, they kind of said, oh, you knew this from the start. And I mean, quite honestly, after being in this role and serving the student body, I was kind of disappointed, kind of as I talked earlier. I think a lot of people think that, oh, you're student body president, that's great. I mean, it's a great title, but what you can actually do is tie to 54 other people, plus 116 people that are in a committee, and a bunch of other people, and to a certain extent, one person can stick in the spoke and stop the whole system. And so I think this is a great opportunity for me personally to get outside of the bureaucracy, be able to be in a direct role to influence, and be able to mobilize students on campus. And I think that's something that we need to face. Next year is a big year. We have a GEO contract negotiation starting this April. We have a lot of key new administrators on campus, a new director of public safety, our chief of police, a new provost, hopefully. We have a new chancellor still. She's fresh. And President Hogan, he's still new. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. He doesn't know the system yet.
He may not be around for too long. What you check? So you're running for trustee, and that process begins when?
It really starts today. I mean, the packet should be released anytime now by the Student Election Commission, and there's going to be a mandatory meeting. And honestly, anybody out there, if you're interested in running for Senate, if you have any passion out there for issues, just run. There's a mandatory meeting on Monday. That information will be sent out on a mass mail to all university students. Take advantage of that opportunity. It's a great time. There's all these rules and stuff, but don't worry about it. Don't let that hold you back. I think this campus needs students to be involved, and I think a lot of times it's easy to say, you know what, I don't have the say in this, I'm just a student, but if you discredit yourself from the start, you're not going to get anywhere. So I think we need people like that on Senate. So, But elections are in March, 6th and 7th, online.
There you go. And people don't know that. I had heard some words of wisdom from someone, some random dude. He was a random director who came to La Casa, and he gave. I was kind of being a jerk in the back, chiding him with some of my comments about questioning his role in diversity and whatnot. I'm not really the biggest fan of all that kind of language and lingo or whatever, but this guy's muttering and whatnot. And I told him, you know what? Why should I be involved? Why should I do anything? He said, you know what? He hit me back right with it. He's like, when the good voices are quiet and aren't speaking out, other people will fill the void who are not good. That's just how it works. There's always somebody looking to take advantage or to benefit from a circumstance. And if the people with the good opinions and good voices don't go out there and have their voices heard and represented, then what do you think is going to happen? Like the only negative can come from that. And so I took that pretty to heart, even though it's like a random guy and I just heard it from him. But I think it just hit me at the right time, but it resonated with me. So that's definitely a good point. So you're running for trustee, and definitely wish you the best of luck there. Let's do a quick, how should we say, word association.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a word or phrase. I want you to give me 1 or 2 words maximum.
Okay.
1 or 2 words maximum.
Only 2.
Yeah.
Can I do 3?
No, 2.
Okay.
2 maximum. At best, an adjective and a noun or whatever you want to do. You ready for the first one?
Okay.
Got to build up my own suspense. Let's go ahead with this one. Let's say President Logan.
Oh, 2 words. Okay. Tries hard.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate, or do you want to leave it at that?
We'll just leave it there.
All right. Student Senate.
Bureaucratic mess.
University of Illinois.
Promising institution.
Student trustee.
Powerful role.
LGBTQ support on campus.
Underfunded.
Okay. University of Illinois diversity.
Struggling.
Okay. Contract negotiations with GEO.
Important. And I don't think and should count. And under
survey says.
And under threat.
Under threat.
No, it's hyphenated, right? No.
Under threat. Okay. And let's go to the next person. I think her first name, Lisa Troyer. Is that her first? I think that's her.
Anonymous emails.
Okay. Former President White.
Global campus.
Oh, come on. Let me get back.
I don't know the man well. I mean, I wasn't even on campus, to be honest. I'm a junior right now, but I actually transferred my freshman spring semester. I started at DePauw University in Greencastle, Indiana. I actually chose, despite all the scandal, despite having no president, I chose to come to the University of Illinois. Don't know why, but I came here. So I just missed the white stuff. So
November 2012 elections.
Revolution.
GOP debates.
Foolish.
Okay. I think that's 3 words. You got it at the end, man. The contraction. Is there anything you'd like to say to folks out there who are either reach out to them or maybe inspire them or share some words of wisdom if they are considering running for student senate or anything? Any parting words or thoughts you want to leave for folks out there?
I mean, not to go all Obama-esque on people, but I think you can be the change that you want to see on this campus. And right now, there's never been a better time to be involved as far as on campus politics. We have a new president on our university, a new chancellor. We're going to have a new provost. I mean, practically an all-new administration from top to bottom. And with that comes an opportunity because there's a huge learning curve with them. They're really depending on students to bring to them the perspective and it's the attitude on campus. And because of that, we need good people to stand up and to speak up for students. And I think they're very open to listening to students, and that's the first step. I mean, if they don't decide to take our advice, that's fine. We'll work on that next step. But they're listening to us right now, and we haven't always had that in the past. And I think that's an important first step in anything. And really, if you want to see something happen on this campus, you're going to have to be the person to do it. I can't say it any better way. I mean, you need to be the change on this campus.
Very true. I want to thank David Pileski, student body president of the University of Illinois, for coming onto the air and sharing his thoughts and words with us with the show. As always, if you want to send us some feedbacks, give us some criticism, you can always email us at wrfu@theshow1045.com, wrfu@theshow1045.com. we're never too good for criticism. Like you said, we have a brand new administration. A couple people I'd like to shake and get rid of too. I'm debating about how hard to shake the ground underneath them. So we'll see. We'll see how the rest of 2012 spring semester transpires as well. But keep staying tuned with us. Want to thank Mike, Mikkel, Katie in the backdrop. Want to thank Mr. T in the control room. Thank everyone out there for staying tuned with us. It's the show WRFU Urbana 104.5 FM. Take us away.